Are you an overthinker like me? Then you know firsthand that being an overthinker can lead to frustration, which then definitely interferes with your own success. When you overthink something, you are literally causing that paralysis by analysis, which then can block you from taking action. And the irony is action steps is what actually can help you reduce the overthinking that's causing the problem in the first place.
Are you a strong, independent woman who's passionate about her career? Then this podcast is perfect for you. Based on her book, The Career Woman's Secret Playbook, career coach Dr. Dawn Hamby shares the kind of insider secrets you can only know if you've hired, fired, and promoted employees over the past 30 years.
Ladies, I'm on a mission to help busy women just like you create a career and life you love without sacrificing your work-life balance to get it. Come join me as we inspire and motivate each other only as women can and have lots of fun along the way.
With Dr. Dawn's tools, strategies, and action steps, you can unleash your personal and professional power in a whole new way. Here's today's episode.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another empowering episode of the Career Woman's Secret Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn, CEO and founder of Dr. Dawn ShopTalk, and you guys, these are the kinds of topics that we work with all the time, whether it's for a business, an organization, or one of our private coaching clients. I'm passionate about this, you guys, on the podcast because I want to give you the tips and tricks that I know firsthand have worked for my staff. I've been in supervision for more years than I can count. It definitely has worked in my own personal life, from friends and family, as well as my clients. And although my consulting work is for professional women and men both, I wanted to dedicate this podcast to the overworked and oftentimes underappreciated career women out there. Can I get an amen? Yes, ladies, I am talking to you. That is why I'm so passionate about the podcast. Is I know I see this all the time with my friends even. We are spreading ourselves too thin. And then on top of that, things like this are actually affecting our career and our personal lives because we're blocking ourselves from taking the next step. We're feeling stuck. We're feeling unhappy. We don't know why we're having trouble sleeping at night. These thoughts kind of wake us up. So that's why I'm so excited to bring you topics like this in our podcast. And I'm telling you, there are some real gender differences here. It's not only backed up by the research, but I've seen it firsthand. In all those years of management I was talking about, my male employees would sleep better at night. And they didn't worry about the small stuff, right? They didn't sweat the small stuff. And my female staff would literally torture themselves with negative self-talk and things like this, where they're just overthinking it. They're going over things over and over in their mind, and it really is preventing them from moving forward. Now, before we take a deeper dive on this topic that I'm so excited to talk about today, if you're new here, I definitely want to welcome you. And I want you to head over to our website at drdawnshoptalk.com. I've got tons of freebies for you. My favorite one actually pops up on the website the minute you log in. It's a cheat sheet called What to Do When Your Office is Driving You Nuts. You guys, we all have one of those days, right? This cheat sheet is going to prevent you from throwing a stapler in somebody's direction because you've had it. So I really want you to get that, have access to that. And if you look at the last page on that cheat sheet, in fact, if you're not careful, you could overlook it. It actually comes with a free bonus mini coaching session with me. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I want you to check that out. And as always, if you like today's episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share. Doing so, you guys, really does help us grow our platform and helps us get this message out to more amazing, but probably exhausted career women just like you. All right, you guys, let's get into it. Let's get into the specifics of today's episode, which is all about stopping the torture. We're going to stop overthinking as of today because, again, I'm going to share with you these 3 easy ways, my insider secrets to what really helped me. That's right. I am a recovering overthinker, a recovering workaholic, a recovering perfectionist. All these things that I talk about are things that I worked on personally. Now, there are some topics I cover that I know are my strengths. And because they are, I share those tips with you too. And so, as we talk about today's episode, as always, if I have other videos I think can help you, I'll be sure to mention that in the description. And by the way, if you want a deeper dive into ways you might be blocking your success, be sure to check last week's episode. That was episode 42 about how you may be holding yourself back. So in that episode, I give 3 additional tips. And it was actually the inspiration for today's episode because I realized that this is a different aspect of holding yourself back. So that's why I wanted to share it with you today. All right. So if you were like me, and you're still doing this to yourself, that's why you're listening, you know you overthink every step, every action, every move you make. And in fact, even when you've made the decision and you've taken the action, guess what else you do? You overthink how you could have done things differently. You, again, torture yourself. What do they say? You torture yourself with the woulda, coulda, shoulda, and you don't want to do that. So these 3 steps I'm getting ready to share with you can really help you break free from that pattern. So let's start with step number 1. Step number 1 is recognize the pattern. You've heard of this kind of strategy before, right? So in other words, the first step is to recognize when you're doing this. Really, in this case, it's okay to analyze because I want you to analyze, when is this happening to you? What is it that you're doing that kind of propels you into this unhealthy pattern? If you recognize when it's happening, then we can go back and figure out what is the trigger that's causing you to do this. So pay attention to this because, again, the last thing I want is for you to get into this loop of going over these decisions you've made, these action steps you're trying to take, and by overthinking it, again, you get stuck. You end up causing more anxiety, which again holds you back. Once you're aware of the problem, then we can start looking at ways to interrupt it. Now, I do have other episodes about how to get rid of that negative self-talk. I do want you to interrupt this pattern with positive self-talk. And the problem is we normally have to take a deeper dive there because you got to make sure you're replacing those negative beliefs with positive ones. I discuss this in length in the book, but I also have lots of other videos about this issue. So again, I'll be sure to include that in the show notes on the podcast. And also, I'll include that if you're watching us on YouTube, I'll be sure to include that in the description. You can even click on the video when it pops up on your screen. All right, step number 2, I want you to set a time limit. Timers are awesome. You can either set that in minutes and go ahead and set a timer on your phone, or you can even set a time limit on your calendar. If it really is something that you need a couple of days or even a week to think about, that's fine. Put it on your calendar, where you're utilizing your cell phone, your computer, or an actual calendar or a day planner, whatever works for you. Allow yourself to think it. Because it's okay to make an informed decision. I want you to. That's a good part, actually. It's a recommended step when it comes to making decisions. You want to make an informed one. The problem is when you get stuck there and you just go over the pros and cons over and over again. So it's a good instinct that you're wanting to think things through, but you just don't want to get stuck in that place. So a time limit can really empower you to say, all right, it's okay to step into this tendency because it's all right for me to think the problem through. But I'm going to give myself this amount of time. When that time is done, I'm making a decision. Why? Because Dr. Dawn tells me all the time that even when I make decision and it's the wrong one, I many times can learn more from my mistakes than I could have had I not taken the action to begin with, right? I want you to take that mess and make it your message. It's okay. The most successful people do this. I've got some great videos about that. I'll be sure to include it. So guys, let yourself off the hook. That timer goes off, and yes, I want you to move on, make the decision, and then let's see what happens. Step number 3 is to focus on solutions. In fact, being solution-oriented is so important. If you get afraid of confronting problems because you always think they have to be confrontational, Becoming more solution oriented is really going to help you. So I'll include those videos as well. But coming up with some solutions right away can really help you break free from overthinking. So again, instead of dwelling on the potential problems and the what ifs, that woulda, coulda, shoulda that we already talked about, all of those things can keep you up at night. And you guys, this is another reason that this gender difference can drive women crazy. Are you like me and you're laying next to your husband in bed and he goes to sleep in 5 seconds? You, on the other hand, are torturing yourself, right? The minute you close your eyes, the lamb starts screaming and you're like, how does he fall asleep this quickly? Okay. So whether it's your husband, a life partner, whether it's your roommate, and you can hear them snoring away in that sweet slumber and you're laying there torturing yourself, well, part of the problem is because you're overthinking. So step one, remember, is to recognize when it happens. Step two is to immediately set that time limit. And then step three is to come up with as many solutions as possible. Ask yourself, what's the next step I can take? And then take that action. I promise you, when you do that, you're going to feel so great about yourself because you're going to recognize that you have broken this pattern once and for all. By redirecting your energy into the action steps, you're going to feel much more empowered. You're going to step into your own power, and why not? It's probably long overdue. By overthinking, you're actually preventing yourself from becoming the powerful professional woman I know you can be. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you are one of those superstars at work. You know you can be better, you can do better, you know you're holding yourself back in some way. So let's aim for those solutions so you can start feeling less overwhelmed and more powerful. As we wrap up, let me leave you with this. I want to leave you with some other things to think about, some things to consider. Overthinking, we know, can be a relentless obstacle, but it doesn't have to be. Starting today, I want you to start thinking of this pattern as just a wake-up call. That's it, just a wake-up call. It's kind of teaching you what your triggers are. Think of yourself as that researcher. You're a data analyst and you are looking at your own patterns and you're figuring out what's working and what's not working. And we're getting rid of what's not working. Think about the fact that it's just signaling you that this is something important to you. And as a result, it may just be stressing you out. So instead of falling back into that unhealthy pattern of overanalyzing, I want you to step into your power. And you're going to remember what you hear me say all the time. In fact, I've already said it at least once in today's episode. That is that our greatest success often comes from our mistakes anyway. So as a result, using these steps, making that commitment to yourself that you're going to put these into action, you're not going to fall into that unhealthy pattern any longer. It truly can be your greatest teacher. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another empowering episode of the Career Woman's Secret Playbook podcast. As your host, I just love bringing you these episodes, but I want to hear from you. So let me know what you thought of today's episode. Let me know what worked for you, and also let me know what other ideas you'd like for me to talk about. You guys, I'm so excited to bring you topics like this each and every week. Some weeks I can't bring them to you. So again, I'm trying to shoot for progress, not perfection, right? But most of the time, you can look forward to a new episode from me on Monday, because I want you to start your week off on the right foot. And as you're getting ready for work, as you're taking a walk, whatever the case may be, maybe you're driving to the office or just getting ready for your day. Episodes like this, I hope, are going to help you make that day just a little bit better. So remember, as you're trying to break this pattern, I want you to silence that inner critic. I want you to step boldly into your greatness. And we have other resources that can help you. Don't forget, we're launching our first live workshop that's all about breaking free from these unhealthy patterns. We're calling it our 21-day reboot. We're going to be launching the start date in April. So if you want more information about ways that you can break free from all kinds of unhealthy patterns, and with our workshop, you're going to get 21 days of daily coaching from me, because you're going to be invited to our private Facebook group where you're going to be there with other amazing women just like you who want to step into their greatness and get healthier. Listen, we've got vacations coming up. We've got swimsuit season around the corner. And if you stress out about your health and want to set some healthier goals for yourself, this is going to be the perfect workshop for you. So again, head to our website and find out more. All right, you guys, you know I'm going to end every episode with our ShopTalk motto, because it's going to remind you of how much power you really do have in your life. So let's wrap it up with our motto right now. And it's this: if you're not having a fantastic day, you've got the power to make it one. All right, ladies, I'll see you next week. I know our episode is over, but this is just the beginning. If you're ready to take action but don't know where to start, just head over to drdonshoptalk.com for lots of free resources, ways to work together, and for even more. Subscribe to the Dr. Dawn Shop Talk YouTube channel. Remember, ladies, you don't have to take this journey alone. I've got you covered. Till next time.